Welcome to Intentional Excellence, the podcast where we elevate our lives through authenticity, resilience, and purpose. I'm your host, Candice Ruggiero. I'm a keynote speaker, educator, entrepreneur, aspiring author, and the host of Candice Ruggiero Love Speaks. Through this platform, we dive deep into personal transformation, healing, and growth. This series, The Lost Child Finding Yourself Beyond the Past, is dedicated to exploring how we uncover our true selves beyond the weight of our experiences. Today, or tonight, I'm honored to introduce my guest, Tammy Cox. Tammy Cox is a highly skilled trauma specialist who helps women rebuild their lives and relationships through profound emotional healing. With a core emphasis on inner child work, she guides her clients in identifying and healing unresolved traumas that often lie at the heart of relationship challenges. She empowers individuals to reconnect with their authentic selves and build deeper emotional intimacy with others. Tammy, welcome to the show.
Oh,
Hi.
Candice, thank you for having me. I have a feeling this is going to be a really great conversation.
Me too. Me too. I can sense a person who is like willing to like really be open because that's
Uh-huh.
how our viewers want. Like they want, especially you're dealing with authenticity. I know this is going to be a true powerful conversation. I can't wait to start.
Yay.
And by the way, I'm from Florida. Where are you joining us from, Tammy?
Arizona.
Ooh, how's the weather back there now?
It is it's warming up. It's going to
Okay.
be shooting up to the 80s this
Okay.
weekend. So, it's
Nice.
warming up. Before you
Yeah,
know it's
I've
going to be
always lived
hot.
in Good. I've always lived in New York, so I've only been here in Florida for 3 years. So I'm always hot.
What part of Florida?
I'm in Tampa.
Okay.
Have
Yes,
you?
Tampa is warm, girl.
I
We were this
know.
close, so we left California 4 years ago,
Okay.
and we considered moving to Florida, but we went to several spots in like
Yeah.
around Orlando, and then we went to Clearwater, and I was just like, I don't think I could do this humidity. So here
I
we
mean, I
have
got.
like dry heat. I can do
Oh, we
that.
do. We do. Like summer, the peak. You can't go out for a long time.
Yeah,
You'll feel like you're suffocating. So
yeah,
it's AC. AC, wherever you go, it's AC. That's how you survive.
yeah.
And beaches. And I love
Yep.
the beach. That's one thing great about here. I
Okay,
can
good.
actually explore like beaches, new beaches almost every day. That's how beautiful, so many beautiful spots we have here in Florida. Like the hot springs, and the beaches. Like every day, you can discover
Oh,
new places every day.
that's wonderful.
By the way, anything that I forgot to mention while I was introducing you, Tammy?
No, no, you got the gist of it. And sometimes people don't give the whole bio, but you did. So I think it's very thorough.
I want the audience to know you first because that's how our conversation is going to go. And
Yeah.
like by reading that, I'm learning also more about you. So that's why this conversation is going to be really awesome. I can't wait. All right. All
Yes.
right, start. Okay. So, Tammy, childhood trauma can leave deep emotional imprints that
Uh-huh.
shape how we see ourselves and the world around us. Now, your work focuses on healing these wounds. Tammy, can you take us back to a moment in your own journey where you felt lost? Like, also, how did that experience shape your identity and what impact did it have on your relationship with others?
Okay, well, there was not one moment, girl. It was years of feeling lost. I had a pretty traumatic childhood. I grew up in a very violent home.
Okay.
Violent was just that was a normal part of like physical fighting was a normal part of my daily life. It was
Wow.
also a very controlled religious environment, and
Okay.
my father was abusive. And when you're controlled like that as a small child, I believe that our entire personality is created in the first 5 years. Yes, some
Yes.
experts go all the way up to age 7, but if you haven't done any inner work as an adult, who you are today is representative of that
Yes.
child and what they live through. So, growing up in the world, I thought fighting was what everyone did. So it was very interesting when I went out in the world, and that was not okay. And
Okay.
then, when I was 11 was when my father died of AIDS. So I had a pretty unique childhood. So for me, there wasn't one moment of feeling lost. I felt lost all the way through my young years. In fact, it was 19 when because after my dad died, I went through these low cycles because I missed my dad and I was sad, but I was also relieved that he was dead because he scared me so
Right.
much. So I had to sort of grapple with all those different parts of me that felt very differently about the
Right.
situation. So when I was 19 is when I knew that I needed some serious help, that I wasn't going to be okay. And so I'd say up until the age 19, I felt very lost.
Okay.
So not one moment, not
Yes.
one super
It's a
defining moment,
series
because
of
there was
moments.
several.
Yes.
I'd say the beginning of my life, it started off pretty rocky. So,
So many reflection on that. First of all, I'm an educator, so I
uh
do what you just said, that the crucial years in a child's life is that beginning years.
yeah,
Yes, a lot of educators would say that at the age of 7, more or less, you're set with your ways, how
yeah,
you think, how you're learning, how you're capable of learning, how your personality is molded at 7. But like what you said, 5 years is also very crucial, because that's 5 years of you just getting everything in your head, and all those things are becoming you. Because I've been a kindergarten teacher, which is 5 years old,
yeah,
and I can see at 5 years old, kids are already set. Some
yeah,
kids I know in 10, 15 years, I know who this kid is going to become in 10,
mhm,
15 years, because of his
mhm,
personality, because of how he speaks, because of how his ability to learn. So you're
yep,
right. At the age of 5, I could already tell how a person is going to be, how a child is going to be. And those moments that you shared with us do have an impact on this child. And as a teacher and as a mother myself, I could sense a child who is happy because of having like a positive home life. And I could sense my student being like really withdrawn, or there's something
mhm,
really not vibing because of what we go through. So that's why as a teacher, I try to get to know my student. I really, what I mean, for me, learning will happen if there's acceptance in the classroom. So what I do, I show love first. Get
yeah,
to know that person, that child first, because learning is not going to happen if that child or my student is not secure in the
yeah,
classroom. So it's truly important, those 5 years, those formative years in
yeah.
everybody's life.
And some would even argue, with epigenetics, as we learn more about epigenetics. Do you know about epigenetics?
Now, can you share?
So essentially,
Epigenetics. Epigenetics. Okay.
epigenetics.
Okay.
Essentially, on the moment of conception,
Okay.
all of mom's DNA, all dad's DNA, all their traumas, all their undealt with wounds become yours
Yes.
on
Okay.
the moment of conception. So some would argue you're pre-programmed. We
Right.
get the
Right.
first
Right.
programming in the third trimester, and then those first 5 to 7 years
Right.
shape it. But essentially, who you are, if you haven't done any inner work, was
Yes.
really pre-established by your DNA. So if that's why I tell people, hey, listen, we all have trauma, for one.
Right. Yes.
Every single person has trauma tracked on their DNA. So, like, even if you didn't get it in your lifetime, it's been passed down 7 generations on both sides via your epigenetics. Okay,
Right.
so
Right.
you inherit all your parents' ideas, all
Right.
their traumas, all their wounds, and it's up to us to heal them, because there is no one that is going to be alive today that has not. I mean, even the birth experience did be
Right.
super traumatic. So
Yes.
we get to embrace this idea that trauma is bad. It is not bad. It is very, very good. And if we even embrace our own specific traumas, it will teach us something. But when you look at children, you have to know that they've experienced a lot for those
Right.
little tiny bodies. And I love that you work with them because they're just so precious and pure. Like when they're little, they care a lot less about what other people say. I learned so much from little people.
Well, can I confirm what you said about the epigenetics? Okay,
Uh-huh.
so I've been a teacher everywhere. New York City. Let me share with you my story with New York City. We're talking about Harlem kids.
Oh,
Okay, so it's a special education school, heart of Harlem. All right, and at that time I was a teacher for preschool, which is like 4 years old. And
uh-huh.
I wanted to confirm what you just said about from the moment of conception, which is, maybe in the wound, preconception. I mean, preconception, that child is molded. How? Even prior to conception, if that at that time, if that mom was heavily drinking, if that mom was like into drugs, that child is already affected. The child in your wound is already affected.
Oh,
If
yeah.
there is an acceptance of like pregnancy, that child feels it. Why do I say that? Why do I agree with you? Because the kids that I dealt with, can I be 4 years old? They were trashing classroom. Little people
Mhm.
throwing things that like you won't believe how misguided or how, I don't know, I don't want to say some words, hurtful words. They're still precious kids, but the anger, the
Yeah.
inability to control their emotions, the stress, the I even had a child who, at this age of 4, had psychosis, had mental manic depression. When I say manic depression, all of a sudden super sweet, and all of a sudden, boom, she changed personality. Like,
Yeah.
who is this child? And so, as a teacher, we have to understand their background, right? I was with 10, it's a therapeutic. Um, um, Program wherein the kids that I dealt with all had medication because
Mhm.
of their disability, because of what they're going through. So I worked with a psychiatrist because my kids had medication. I had two big men who were my teacher assistant because of how violent these kids are. But I love them no matter what. But I'm just saying, when I check their background,
Wow.
true enough.
That is a special heart you have because that
I've been hurt
that's
a lot of times because of like
yeah.
little people, because they can't control their emotion. And but you know what, that's part of being a teacher. You have to accept them for who they are. But like I said, I confirm what you said, that everything is based on their background. Everything is like how we're, even like the moment of the birth, no, the carrying process while you're
Yeah.
pregnant. So I
Mhm.
suggest to any pregnant woman, like what you said, you need to find yourself first. You need to heal yourself first. Don't plan to get pregnant if you're dealing with something, because you already, the life of your child is already planned because of how the way you carried your life. You have
And
such great
yeah,
impact.
and at the same time, like I went through my healing journey after having kids, and they have this idea, pre-healed mom and the current mom, they have two versions of me, and we talk
Yes.
about it all the time. I'm very open with them because I tell them, hey, I already know I effed you up. I'm keeping it clean. I already
Wait,
know that
say
I
that
did that.
again.
I already know I messed you up.
Okay. Oh.
I was just going with the system I learned, and that was a
Okay.
big part of my healing journey was when I became a mom and I looked at that beautiful, perfect child and I was like, I am not going to put her through what I went through. And that was my invitation to heal. And that's what I chose for myself. So my kids have the version of me, the messy version before I started my healing journey, and who they have now. And we talk about it openly, but it's like, I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I want everyone to give themselves grace. You didn't know what you didn't know. Forgive
Yes.
yourself and move on and change, because when you heal yourself, you're going to heal your lineage. So the
Right.
epigenetics will
Right.
also tell us that when
Love.
we heal ourselves, we're healing forward 7 generations and back 7 generations. So we're healing the lineage. We're healing
Yes.
the actual DNA. So, I really, with the ladies I work with, I want them to give themselves so much grace because they're just running the system that they learned. And it's an autopilot thing. So,
But I don't take anything against those people who went through something while they were pregnant. It's just part of life. It's their life challenge. But for
yes.
you to for you to admit to yourself that, hey, I know I already messed you up because of like how I carried you. At least you are willing to change. And a
Yeah.
person is molded not just by genetics. Environment plays a big role. You can totally change a person's DNA or the way their genes are going to become because of how the environment, the
Oh,
love, the
absolutely.
people that surrounds you, education. Like, I don't believe in it's over for anyone. You know, people
Right.
can, it doesn't matter if you're 5 years old, 6 years old, seven. You said 19 years old. That's when you started to heal. It doesn't matter when. Healing will start when you admit to yourself that I don't want to be here. I want myself to be better.
Yeah, you could change. This is what I love to tell people. You could change anything about yourself or your life. It is
Right.
all malleable. And
Yes.
I think for those of us who were in such excruciating pain, for me in my healing journey, it was something that I am either going to heal or I'm going to take my life. That was the
Right.
place I was at several times. And not everyone gets to that pain point, but that's what invited me to heal because I started to ask myself the deep questions like, is it possible to change my circumstances?
Right.
And so now I tell people, like, don't settle for anything in your life. If you do not like it,
Yes.
please, there's so many different ways you can change and grow and heal. So it's a testament to just the creatures that we are. Like we can do anything. Like we limit ourselves so much, but like what if we could change absolutely everything about our life? So we're not stuck with anything.
And I like also what you said about you're changing your lineage. You're changing the generational curses in your life. You're changing it when you actually admitted to yourself that, hey, hey kids, like I'm sorry I messed you up, but then you're willing to change. You're actually starting a new lineage for them,
Yep.
which is love, acceptance, and that healing. So you know what I mean? So because
Yeah.
of that, you know very well that your kids are going to be okay because you're willing to change for them, and hopefully there's a ripple effect when they have their own kids, and you know, like then they're going to
Hmm.
continue what you started. So I
Hmm.
believe that no trauma should define you. Trauma could be something positive. Learn from your trauma, learn from your mistakes, and move on and change your generational lineage. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
such a powerful way when you are able to change. When a
Yeah.
person is able to change, I feel that you're strong because change is not easy for a lot of people.
Oh gosh, it's not easy for anyone.
Right,
It doesn't
right,
feel comfortable, and
right.
people love to be comfortable, but nothing you want is inside that box. Nothing you want is in your comfort zone. Like it's,
No.
I don't know how any, like for me, it would be more uncomfortable to stay small than
Yes.
to stretch myself out. It's just the kind of person I am.
Yes.
But you're right. The majority of people, they don't want to change because it's uncomfortable. And I get it because that means the people in your life will have to change. And it isn't comfortable, but for me, like I said, there just was no option because of the amount of pain I was in. I
Wow.
hated myself on such a deep level that I couldn't be alone with myself. I hated me, you know. So if I didn't change that,
Right.
I just wouldn't have done. I just would have taken myself out of the game. So, but I think the people who I feel a little bit worse for are the ones that are not quite in it as much pain,
Yes.
and they have just
They're relaxed.
surrendered them. They've surrendered themselves to a life of living with the pain. Like they numb themselves out. They find ways to numb, whether it's food, whether it's
Right,
alcohol,
right,
whether it's
right.
work, whether it's whatever. They've numbed it enough that they're just trying to get by and they're on autopilot like a zombie. Like I feel like that's the majority of people.
But here's the thing, when a defining moment hits you, a
Yeah.
problem, a loss of job, loss of someone,
Uh huh.
when you not being healed, that you're just covering it up,
Yeah.
That's a big trigger. And you know
That is
what?
so right.
That is when, whoa, like you're gonna
That
be
is usually a
out
trigger.
of control of your life because you didn't heal properly, right? And
Hmm.
like prior to this series, my series was called Solo and Strong. I featured men and women thriving as a single parent, and
Uh-huh.
we both agreed. From that, I learned that you need to prepare yourself. Find your authentic, genuine self first. Heal inward, because when the defining moment hits you, your life is going to crumble because there's going to be change. So the best way is just prepare. If you have, like, don't, yes, I love being a mom. Yeah, of course, you want to be home and be there for your family.
Mhm.
But then I lost my husband 2023. A good
Wow.
thing I was prepared. I had my career as well. And I emotionally I was okay. Didn't really have a lot of like
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
thank you. But like I was just saying, Tammy, when life challenge strikes you, defining moment, you need you need to prepare. You need to have been prepared.
Yeah.
So I advise everyone to be prepared, not just monetarily, you inward.
Yeah.
Find what you're good at, because even if like you have to work right away because of a loss of your someone, and income needs to be met, it's okay. You can do it because you're okay as a person.
Yeah, I mean, think about your emotional state is everything. So what I do with the healing journey, what I know is your emotions are everything.
Right,
So
right.
first thing I do with my clients is we got to pull out the negative emotion, the old stuck stuff from 0 to 5,
Yes.
and work our way up to. And then the next part of that is to learn how to manage our emotional state, because it's not what happens to us, it's how we perceive the events.
Yes.
Whether it's a positive or negative thing, I'm always affirming everything is always working out for my good. No matter what it looks like now, it's
Right.
always working out for my good. And if that's your set point, then
Yes.
my emotions are under control. Yes, I'm going to feel pain and
Yes.
allow it. I'm going to feel the grief, but my set point is this inner peace that is so very deep within me that it just neutralizes all the noise. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. And
And that's what I think of when you say be prepared internally. That's what I think of.
yes.
Have the skeletons cleaned out of your closet. Know how to manage your emotional state. That's what I think of when you said that.
Well, your main one of your main program is authenticity, right? I
Yes.
like, as I shared in the bio, and just finding your authentic self doesn't mean it's all the beautiful parts of you. It's you embracing all the things that happen in your life challenges, your weaknesses, embracing them as
Yeah.
part of you to make yourself a better person. That's how I look at authenticity. And even whatever happened to you, like you said, you lost your father at 11. Guess what, Tammy? I lost my father when I was 11 years old too.
Wow.
I lost a brother when I was 19, and I'd lost two brother, and then my husband. So I know that pain is real,
Uh-huh.
and I agree with what you said, that deal with it. Grieve if you have to.
Hmm.
Cry if you have to. But at the same time, don't lose yourself in the process. Know that this is a temporary thing that I'm going through. It's part of
Yeah,
life.
because
Cry.
because life is temporary. We all come in
Yes.
and we're all going out. So it's like the timing of it, I know can be shocking, but it's going to happen to all of us.
Yes.
I just feel part of the problem there is that we're not prepared. Like we don't talk about death like the natural,
Yes.
beautiful
Yes.
thing that it is. I, you
And
know,
yeah, and in one of my episodes in my podcast, I talk about stepping out of your comfort zone. Like what you said, people are so scared to change. So what did they do? Even like that pain that they're feeling, they try to like eat or use alcohol to like numb the pain. But sometimes just address it head on.
you got to go into it.
Yes, because pain is real, but at the same time, healing is possible. No matter how much you're grieving, if you're willing to like finally heal, there's like I said, I've lost so many people in my life. Okay, how many more can I have? Do I have to lose? My point is, I've used every loss, every member that I lost in my family. I'm just glad that I was able to learn from it. You know what I mean? And I didn't use it to like hold me back. I've always felt stronger as a person because I literally felt the meaning of death, like, and not like, not me, like death because you lost someone, like here's my dad, no dad. I felt it, it's the
Mhm.
motion. You have to go through the motion. My brother here, who was an amazing supposed to be like a surgeon already, neurosurgeon, passed away, gone. Just accepting, like really feeling the moment and moving on. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
just need to know that this is temporary. And Tammy, I believe that life happens. Things happen for a reason.
Oh, they do. Yeah, they most certainly do. And I feel like we struggle with this thing we call death because we don't realize that we're not a human.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not just this. I came
Right.
into this suit. I'm going to leave this suit. And
Yes.
it's not who I am. It is just a fraction, a tiny little fraction of who I be for this lifetime. But you, as an eternal being, you are so much more than the meat you live in. Like this is just an expression of your soul, but your soul is so much bigger than your body. So I feel like the death, I'm thankful that I experienced loss. I don't ever believe it's a loss because, like I said, I believe we're
Yes.
eternal. But
Right.
I love that because it caused me, like, I have a better relationship with my dad now than I did when he was alive. So,
Ah,
you know what I'm
can you
saying?
explain more? Like,
Yeah, because no one ever actually goes anywhere. So, the relationship I have with my dad is now pure because he doesn't have the ego mind involvement. So he's much more loving and
oh, that's good.
yeah, and compassionate and is just cheering me on for what I'm doing for the family lineage. So it's very I just see death very differently than other people do. And
Right.
I'm
Right.
and
Right.
I think that's just because of my experiences with it at a young age.
Right. And for some of us, like, I believe that sometimes they leave Earth because they have a higher purpose up there. You know what I mean? Wherever they're going, they have their purpose.
Well, they're helping us
Learn. We're
still.
learning.
They're
Yeah.
they're still on their they're still doing the same following their same interests. That's why I'm saying I really believe that it was my dad that has been leading me to heal the lineage because I think
Nice.
that's what he came into here to do. And I think he got a little sidetracked. Or I think that he did exactly what he was supposed to do,
Right.
which was stir. Because my dad had a my childhood was nothing compared to the trauma he went through. And when
Oh,
I say I work with epigenetics, so I work with his lifetime as well as my own because that's within me as well, and I
right.
can access it via DNA.
Right. Right.
So when we have compassion for our parents, knowing that they did the very best they
Right.
could,
Right.
like even with the abuse, when I go back to the abuse in my father's eyes, he was protecting me. He was trying to keep
Right.
me from all the horrible things that he experienced. So
Right.
that's what we do. We're just all doing the very best we can. And when our kids are
Yes.
grown and they're like, "You traumatized me," and you're just like, I did the best I could. I didn't know any better. Meet your parents with compassion because every single person is just doing the best that they can with what they were given. And just like you said, it all serves a purpose. It's serving
Right.
us somehow, to the degree that we accept that.
Right. Right.
Because if you
Right.
see yourself as a victim, you will never be the creator of your own life experience. You will just be the victim of life. So take all ownership and responsibility for
Right.
your life, knowing that it is yours to create.
Yes.
You are you're molding the clay. So,
Right. Right.
and you're molding it via your thoughts and your perceptions. So do it on purpose.
Intentional, be intentional.
Yes.
And like what you said, I'm glad that you did say that your dad was acting in response to how he was back then. So he probably didn't do anything intentional. And you know what? I think finally what you accepted or did was forgiveness. I think you
Yep.
accepted the fact that he did what he did, maybe not intentional, but it's because he thought he was doing the right thing. And I think the way I see it, forgiveness. And when you're able to forgive someone, no matter how hard, no matter how they or he or she impacted your life negatively, when you're able to forgive, that's such a powerful like feeling of like release, you know what I mean?
Oh,
And
it's so
then just
powerful.
moving forward, you know what I mean? Because no, we're only human, we all make mistakes. And like what you said, yeah, you were able to break the generational, not curse, the practice, the
Yeah.
generational
Some
practice
people
because of
call
what
it
you
a
did.
curse.
I didn't want
Call
to say
trauma
it,
a curse.
girls. Yeah, but yeah, at least hopefully moving forward, the next generation in your family will have a more uh, open life. When I say open, it's just accepting change and being the best that they can. Right?
Yeah. It already has changed. I mean,
Oh,
it'll continue to, but my kids are like my oldest is 16,
okay.
almost 15 and then 7, almost 7. So they it's just an open conversation. We talk about
Right.
all of it. And so it just gets to be I tell them the things that I would do differently if I
Right.
had started my journey early. Like I talk to them about all that and it has already changed. So will it get better and better? Yes, absolutely. But
Yes.
once you start on your healing journey, you can't go back.
Right. Right.
You
Right.
just can't go back. You can't unsee what you see. So it's if and for anyone probably not probably for anyone listening to this podcast, you've already started your healing journey because you wouldn't be drawn to a podcast like this
Yes.
unless you are on your healing journey. So
And when you're on a healing journey, Tammy, it doesn't mean everything's going to get better all the time. There's still going to be setbacks. There's still going to be challenges, but at least the way you view these things have changed. Like
yep,
you're more open to like finding ways to make it part of you and hopefully navigate around it. And the fact that you're speaking with your kids, letting them know that, hey, this is what life is. And at least when your family experiences something, then they're aware that, hey, this is still part of life, that it's okay, it's something that us as a family will need to go through and hopefully move on. Like, I've never felt close as I am right now with my kids with the death of their father.
mhm.
And we're just like, now we're solving things together. They're part
Oh, I
of
love that.
they're part of the process. They're part of, like even like everything changed in my life. They're part of. It's not just my decision. It's our
I love
decision.
that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Tammy, our subconscious beliefs, especially those formed in childhood, can either hold us back or propel us forward. Now, how did your own past experiences shape the way you viewed yourself? And how did you begin to shift those beliefs toward healing and self empowerment? And also, maybe at this time, talk about what you do.
Yeah. So the processes I do is really involving the subconscious,
Yeah.
and what we're looking for is the limiting beliefs caused by childhood trauma. So
Okay.
the reason why childhood trauma affects us so much is because at the moment you're in a traumatic state, you're in this high state of negative emotion, a belief comes in.
Okay.
And as in those first 5 years, that belief gets stamped onto your subconscious mind and it gets very deeply ingrained
Yes.
in your DNA, right? And
Yes.
so
In your DNA. Wow,
in your
that's
DNA.
that's powerful. Yeah, in your DNA. Okay.
And so when I was going back through my childhood trauma, so we go back through to neutralize it, meaning we take the emotions out of the body, right? Off the event. So if you think
Right.
about the event, The reason why you're triggered by the event is because of the emotional tag on it. So what we do is we pull the emotional tag off, and you'll just feel very neutral about the event. It's almost as if it didn't happen to you once we're done with the process.
Okay. And what do you call that process? That's something like you
Well,
term?
it's we're neutralizing the trauma.
Okay.
The way that I do it is my own system. You'll have to watch
Okay.
my podcast. I take
Yes.
someone through
Okay.
a process on my podcast. It's just working with the subconscious mind, so I can't consciously
Yes.
break it down. It's a
Right.
little more complicated. So we're going back through and we're neutralizing the event. The other thing that we're doing is we're looking for the commands, which are the limiting beliefs that were impressed at that young age. And the life commands tend to be on every event. So when I went back through mine, my two dominant commands, that means they showed up on every single traumatic event, which was I'm unlovable and I'm
Okay.
not important. So when we go back to the childhood, these were the two beliefs that were tracked all the way through my life, right? So the power in finding those, when I work with my client and we find their commands, I'm like, this is gold. And you can choose to do so when I found them, then I could then look at my life and see all the places I made that true for myself, all the relationships I sabotaged, all because think about it. If you believe that you're unlovable, when someone tells you
Yes.
that they love you, they're a liar now because you're unlovable. You can't receive it, right? So it was gold to me when I found these. I was like, this makes so much sense why I
Wow.
sabotaged myself so much. Yeah. So that's why I tell people you think you and believe the way that you do because that was how you were formed in those first 5 years. But when you find those, you could change them. So, obviously I affirm something very different for myself. You could see it in my way of being. I don't carry it heavy like I used to,
Mhm.
but that's all of us. We're all
Right.
walking around with these life commands. I like to find the two powerful ones when working with my clients because it comes up in every like challenge they have in life, their commands are popping up.
Wow.
So that's the biggest part of my work.
So amazing. So many things that you said that are just people probably don't know about that you can actually mold or adjust your DNA. That's amazing because people will think of DNA as something that you already have when you that moment of conception. Like that's what I thought of
Yeah,
DNA.
and those commands, going back even further, those commands came down my dad's track. Yeah. So
And sometimes, how are you going to move forward when you don't know what you're trying to fix in your life? So that's the important thing about finding your commands. That's how I got from what you're saying. You really have to, like, if you have to go deep, look back in your childhood and find out what really made me who I am right now, right? Like, why am I like this? Why am I so like? Why do I have limiting beliefs? Why am I so scared? Why am I ashamed of like things? It's because you really have to go back. What made you who you are right now? And like what you said, you'll find those commands, and when you're finally able to say that it's this one, then you can find ways to navigate around it or totally remove it from your life, and finally move on and be a whole new person. I love that. I love that.
yeah.
Loving, loving, loving. And I do believe, Tammy, that healing isn't a linear journey. There are moments of breakthrough, but there are also setbacks when you're healing. So, how do you navigate those moments when old wounds resurface? Maybe based on how you think of it, or maybe like how you help your clients when those wounds start to just resurfacing.
Oh, I get excited.
Yes.
This is why, because we tend to judge them. Oh, I thought I dealt with this. Like, oh, am I ever going to be better? Like, oh, like we get so down on ourselves and start to judge the trigger. No, you thank the trigger. Thank you for
Yes.
showing up. You're telling me something. It is just information. And if we can have a neutral attitude about everything, we will have a much easier experience. So we look at the trigger. What wound is this poking? If it's a trigger, that means it's poking an old
Yes.
wound.
Wounds. The
So
old.
this is where we sit down with our journal and we say, what is
Yeah.
coming up for me? And you got to get rid, because the healing journey is all about curiosity. You have to go inside of yourself. You have to get so curious as to why you do the things you do. And most importantly, why you feel what you feel, because the emotions are the biggest teachers. So we're looking
Love
at,
it.
what is this pain point? What wound is this poking? And I want you to sit down with it until you get all the way down to the belief. Oh, there's that old belief again. I'm
I love
unlovable.
that.
Yeah. So, and that for me, when I feel pain,
Mm-hmm.
I can now instantly go to, oh, I'm believing I'm unlovable right now.
Right.
That's the wound that's being poked, because I know myself so much. I know my commands. I
Yes.
know the reason why I do the things that I do. I know how I created my personality,
Right. Right.
because our personality is developed in order to survive our family of origin. And so when we understand that, then we could pick the new personality.
Right.
I was a natural controller because I grew up in a violent home where we got our way by bullying someone else out of theirs. So you could change anything, but you have to understand and have compassion. So a big part of what I do
Yes.
with my clients is we go back to their little self and they
Right.
heal her. They pick her up. They love her. They ask her what she needs. Does she need to be heard? Does she need to be felt? Does she need, what does she need from you? And so we really work with her little self for weeks and weeks, because our little girl within us is holding on to all the pain she never got to feel.
Right.
And
Right.
so we need her to hear her out, and we need to
Right.
feel the pain for her. And
Right.
so that's what we do.
Okay. Love it. You talked about triggers, right? I'm gonna relate it the way I think. Again, going back to me being a teacher for kids with special needs. In order for you to really work on students with who are challenging, who are struggling, you need to get to know them. What are their triggers? What makes them become aggressive? What makes them cry? What makes them emotional? As a teacher, we need to get to know those triggers so that when there's something that will trigger them, I am able to stop that thing that will trigger that behavior. So same thing with
Yeah.
us looking at triggers. Once
Kids shift like that.
I know. So
So
teachers have such great job.
I will give you something that will change a child so fast. Have them put their right hand over their heart, left hand over their right. Have them go inside of their heart and have them recite, I am so lovable. I am
Yes.
so worthy. I am so important. All that is needed me to be here in order for it to be complete. I
I
am a
love
part.
it.
They need to be affirmed of who they really are, because the reason why they're lashing out is because they don't know who they really are. And when I
Yes.
say who they really are, I mean not the meat suit. I mean the soul, that eternal part of them, that they need to be plugged into the truth, which is
Right.
who they really are on a spiritual level. And you do that with the child over, I did that with my youngest one, because my older two, they were too, when I started on my healing journey, they were way too old to subscribe. Unless they were in pain, then they'd
Right,
listen.
right.
But I just start having them I'd have them put their hands on their heart, look into the mirror, look deep into their own eyes, and I'd have them connect very deeply with themselves.
Wow.
And then I'd have them recite all the truths about who they really are. And I'd have them do it until I saw their countenance change. And you'll literally see the bubble around them change color.
Well, I don't work with kids anymore. I left the profession, but I did come. Well, I can
Well, I'm
totally.
saying that for anyone who sees this,
Oh
whether
yes,
you
yes,
have
yes.
kids,
No,
everyone
yeah,
has kids in our life. But
yes.
when my
Right.
daughter would get triggered, I just have her connect inward. I'd have her recite, and it would changes her in an instant.
Yes,
So,
I know what I know. Yes, you meant like all the. I just wanted to share that even if I left the profession, I still want to be there to support teachers and
mhm.
students. So what I did, Tammy, is I started a global education connection
Oh,
where I empower still because I cannot, teaching is in my heart and my soul because I've been in the field of education for 30 years. So what I meant was I do digital courses. I do
oh, I love
professional,
that.
and I want to include what you just said because, like, if you really want your students to really, manage their behavior or manage, like especially that particular topic we were talking about, that is so powerful. So I will include that in one of my digital courses. Just the power of
Yay.
them saying that I love myself. I am strong. I just positive
Mhm,
affirmations to themselves as young at that age will
mhm,
truly change a person. I love
mhm.
that. Love
Yeah,
that.
and I would do that with her anytime that she
Yeah.
would like get super emotional. I'm like, let's go
Yes.
in. And it's like that timeout, and it's training them early that they
Right.
can change because we have those commands coming down our track, but we get to change what we're going to do with them. And I've had to
Right.
affirm the new thing. So it's a lot of that.
Right. And it's just like, look, so calming. If you just stop and pause and say, I love myself. I'm going to be okay. Who
Yep.
Nothing can beat that. Nothing can
No.
beat that. Even if like there's a crying person, a crying, little boy, little girl, once you teach them to just touch your heart, put your like hands over your heart. That is so
Mhm.
calming. That is so peaceful, So I will use that definitely as one of my strategies for social emotional learning.
Mhm.
Just for everyone. It doesn't have to be when they're having a meltdown or they're having a bad, it's just even for positivity every day.
Ooh, I
Love
have another
yourself.
one too. I have
Yeah,
another
give
one
me
too.
yeah.
So
Maybe I'll invite you as one of my speakers.
I would love
Because
that.
I
I
because
would
like
love
I
that.
said, I'm global.
I
I'm
would love that.
empowering
I
schools
told
global.
my kids teacher I'd love to come in and just teach them how to up their emotional intelligence. So color is so important for kids, right? Because when
Okay?
we come
Yes.
into this world, the first two languages we learn before we have words is color and emotion, and so they're coupled together. So in a lot of the trauma work I do, I utilize color and emotion. I utilize this. So you could do it with kids. Ask them their healing color. They always know it. Have them put the healing bubble all around them, so they're just in this peaceful, loving energy bubble. They choose the color, and then they get to choose the emotions: peace, love. So I'll ask my daughter, what do you want to feel today? Fill up your bubble. Joy, fun, laughter. I'm telling you, this works so good. And so I tell them, hey, anytime you want to feel those emotions, all you have to do is think about that bubble. What color is
Right.
it?
Right.
And you're in it. And so I'll do this without people even knowing if my husband's in a bad mood or my kid's in a bad mood, I'll put them in the bubble and I'll fill it.
Yes.
And I will watch their countenance change so fast. We don't realize how powerful we are. We can create whatever it is that we want as soon as we know that, right?
Yes.
So the color bubble is huge.
And not only just the usage of bubble. Kids love bubbles.
Mhm.
And it's just that space. You are in your bubble. Your
And it's
own
also teaching
safe
them,
space.
hey,
Yeah.
what emotions do you want to feel? Because they're so used to being negatively charged by all the
Right.
things they don't want to experience. Give them the opposite. What do you want to experience? You can experience anything, put it in your bubble and feel it. Because there's nothing more powerful than giving them their power and saying, hey,
Right.
it's in your hands. No matter what happens to you, you get to perceive it however you want. So if we empower our kids to know these things, I mean, just imagine what kind of adults they're going to grow to
They're
be.
gonna
And
be
just
yeah, they're
imagine
gonna be yeah.
the world that they will create from that new place.
Well, that's why part of I do have a partner. The part of what we're doing is come up with a I don't know if you know the term, it's a school term, PBI. Yes, it's like a positive behavioral intervention strategy,
Ooh.
like just building a school culture for a school. And that would include every morning do what you just said. Teach the kids those little things that will support positivity, starting their day motivated already. Those little practices really can last the whole day. You know what I mean? And
Even if they fell off little by little throughout, it would change, has a
stop. Yeah.
compound effect, right?
Do
Every
do
day
us. Yeah.
it would get you're also what a teacher could do is they could create the atmosphere of the room. You know,
Yes.
if they had a powerful enough energy, meaning belief
Right.
system, meaning
Yes.
knowing, they could positively affect the energy. You know, I used to say in my house, I used to put the bubble all around my house. Anyone who comes in, they're going to
Right.
feel it. And they do, they feel it. Whatever you put
And
in there.
or like by doing that, you're go on YouTube and look for like a video of like really bubbles, and while you're making them go into that motion, there's like bubbles all over a big projector, or like dim the light, and you can really create the scene,
Yep.
and that's so calming for everyone. And you know what, sometimes as a teacher I do feel bad for students, because I don't know if parents know, your students work a lot. They are not just in school to sit down and do nothing and play. From the moment they start, they are testing. They are getting discussion, lecture. They move from room to room. There's no time for students to really like, oh wait, I can't do this now. I'm still like here. I can't move on to the. No, they're on a schedule. Students nowadays are so, I'm sorry to say, but there's so many stress in school, and it's so,
I would love to get rid of the school that we have now. I think it's terrible. I think
it's
it's terrible.
it's too much testing. I mean, and then like I said, they need those social emotional skills, meaning any strategy that you just said, just to like, they need also their emotional well-being. They're not just there for like studies. You need to cultivate their emotional and mental well-being. If you truly want a child, a student to succeed, work on all those aspects, not just the cognitive one.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I agree with that. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Let me just close that healing part. I found that healing is a lifelong process. So just when you think you've moved past something, a memory or a conversation or even like a random moment can bring emotions flooding back. And that's okay. We all said that. But give yourself grace, let yourself feel whatever you need to feel, but also remind yourself how far you've come. Even if you feel that, look at yourself. Hey, I'm okay to feel this because look at how far I've come. I'm able to deal with the triggers and move past it. Triggers can happen. If I'm watching a show and see a dad and a daughter, I cry. That's a trigger for me. Still cry,
Yeah.
but that's okay. That's okay. Just move past it, and just think of like the life lesson that you learned due to that, I guess, trauma or thing that happened to you in the past, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I think you got to be careful when you say things like move past it because
Okay. Okay.
oftentimes, not always,
Yes.
we do move past it, and that's the reason why the pain remains inside of us. So instead of moving past it, go into it, feel it all
Yes.
the way, because what you resist persists. So instead of seeing pain as bad or
Right.
something I don't want to feel, move all the way into the center of it, because it only takes 90 seconds for that feeling to be fully felt with no
Yes.
resistance before it's completely dissolved. So you got to feel it to heal it. You move to the center of it. You allow it to be felt fully, and then no need, it's gone. Right. So moving past it just says to
Yeah.
me, oh,
You're gonna
you're not
ignore
really
it.
treating it. Yeah. So if you Feel it to heal it. So it's like when you get triggered,
I like that.
don't see it as a negative. Like it's just telling you, hey, there's pain there. Pain is not bad.
Yes.
Pain is really good. It's what lets you know that that stove is hot, right? It's a signal to your body. It is just information. So feel the pain,
Right.
sit with it,
Yes.
grieve it, and then move to the next and move to the next and move to the next. But I think that you're right. I think it's, as far as my experience so far, it's not healed completely. Like as long as you're in this physical body, there's more to heal because we're literally connected to all the other humans. And as long as there's pain that's existing in
Right.
the world, it's going to come through us. But it's how we handle it, and don't resist it, feel it,
Yes.
let it move through you, and don't judge it.
I think when everything that you said, I totally agree. I think when I said go past it, I think I was talking in the sense of you've already went through the healing journey,
Yes.
meaning it's
No,
still
I know what you meant. You didn't mean that at all. I was just
right. Yeah.
perceiving through the listener
Yes.
of because that's what I experience with people when
Yes.
I first start working with them. They're so
Right.
resistant to going into the pain. They're like, no, no, no.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
why I feel like that's my biggest message to my
Right.
clients is
Thank you. I
it's
love that.
okay to go into the pain. The pain is good. That we must feel it, you know.
Right. Right.
So that I just used it as that
No,
teaching
no, it's
moment.
okay. We learn from each other. And you
Yeah.
know what? Healing is lifelong process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a journey. It's not a destination. Because there's always going to be new trials in your life. So you'll always have to go through the ups and downs of life and continue with your journey and never say that I'm okay. Totally, totally. Because, we're learning. We're like always learning. We're always
Hmm.
evolving and growing. So just, for me, just being open to change and accepting it is my journey,
Yeah.
my healing journey. Because like my life is not perfect. No one's life is. So just being able to accept any challenge that come my way and just okay, I'm
Hmm.
okay. This is part of life. I'm okay. And then I move on, and make that learn from that
Yeah.
learn from that experience, right?
Yeah. It merges with you, right? It becomes
Right.
part of you, and it's a good thing.
And like I said, my podcast talks a lot about resilience, and that's how you build your resilience,
Mhm.
really going through these life challenges and making them part of you, right? And that's
Mhm.
how ultimately also you reach your authenticity when you're able to say that, okay, like this, all these things became me. When you're
Yeah.
able to accept who you are, because like you're no longer resisting who you are growing up, you're just embracing those things. That becomes you. That's when you find your authenticity, loving every part of you, whether ugly or whether beautiful.
Mhm.
That for me is when someone reaches that point of authenticity.
Yeah. I think that it's like a journey inside of
Yes.
yourself and authenticity because most people don't realize that they're not being authentic. Most people are
Yes.
not authentic and
They
you
probably
don't
don't
realize
even
it.
know
They
what
have no
authenticity is.
idea. They have no idea. And that's okay because, you
Yes.
know, it is a journey of uncovering the onions of the
Yes.
layered onions. You know, you get through one and
Yes.
you're like, oh, and your truth is kind of constantly unfolding in that way.
Right. Right.
So it's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel that authenticity in itself should be like just one podcast, because it's too, like, you know what I mean, like when you're
It's big.
finally able to reach that, like people need to find their authentic self, because that's how you find the best version of yourself, you know what I mean? That's
Well,
why when
yeah, and two, it's like we are not very honest with people. I think about how
because we're people please, most of the time we want people to
exactly.
see us the best part of us, but
Uh-huh.
sometimes it's not
Yeah,
real.
it's like I tell my, teenagers now, I'm like, let's just work on being as honest as we can without being hurtful. I think that's what
Yes.
we get to teach our kids. It's like kids are so honest. They say it how it is, and we teach them how to lie, about their to please other people or to not hurt people's feelings. But then in turn, it's hurting your feelings as you go through life, and you're lying about like
Right.
not
Right.
going to an event. I tell my kids, just tell them you're tired. Tell them you just don't want to go. That is not horrible. And
Yes. Be honest.
if
Yes.
they hate you because you tell them you don't want to go to something, then you need to just wash your hands of that person because
Yes.
hello. So people are just, I think they're wieners in that way, kind of where their feelings are so fragile that if someone says, yeah, I don't want to go to that, or, I've had a long day or whatever, if you're hurt about that, then that's the reason why we're perpetuating this
Yes.
dishonesty. So, like, there are sometimes I twist the truth a little. I'm not going to say that I don't,
It's
but
okay.
I
White
work
little white lace.
really, really hard to be as honest as I can without being hurtful because I used to be very blunt. People would be like, "Oh my gosh, you don't have to say it like that." I had to learn to soften it, still keeping with as honest as I can, but in the softest way possible.
Right. Right.
But I think that's a great skill to teach kids is just if you teach kids to be okay just being very honest, then they'll grow up like that, and we wouldn't be lying to ourselves constantly about what our truth actually is.
And not only that, I hope you and I both have teenagers. As early as that moment or that stage, teach them to have their self worth and not base it on how others see them. You know what I mean? Because that's really important. Then you start, everything now stems from you, not caring
Yeah.
about what other people think. Because most of the time, peer pressure is so strong at this age that it can have
Mhm.
a really negative impact on your children. So just them being stable of who they are as a person,
Yeah.
finding your self-worth is so crucial nowadays, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
I mean, that's just a part of, excuse me, those teenage years in general. It's a part of our unfoldment moving into an adulthood. I tell
yes.
my kids this. I'm like, you're not never going to be this insecure again. You're going to get more and more secure about who you are. Because I have three daughters, and I
Yeah.
remember what I was like when I was that age.
Yes.
So insecure. And so I just
Yes.
tell them, you're going to get more and more secure. But the big thing is the modeling. They're going to
Right.
become
Right.
like their models, so their same sex parent. We're just modeling it for it. And
Right.
so
Yes.
I tell my
Yes.
kids they get to choose who they're going to be.
Yes.
I'm not going to make them be anything that they don't want to be, but I do give them, when they allow me to, I do give them help here and there.
And
Like
when you
the soonest you can uh, detach from other people's desires
right,
and
right,
feeling the need to do what they want you to do over what you want to do,
right.
the better off you're going to be in life. That's what I tell them mostly now.
Yeah. And when you do that role modeling as a parent, it can't be all perfect. You need to show your vulnerable side too, so that they understand that this is real life, the ups and downs of life, and just be open to them on like what life really is. You know what I mean? They
Yeah,
can't
I
always
tell my
portray
kids,
you.
I'm going to tell you everything that I did wrong just in case you don't want to do that.
Yes. Yes.
Like
Yeah.
everything. And think about the only reason why we wouldn't do that is just because of shame. I
Yes.
think if human beings let go of all their shame, and this
Guilt
goes
and
back to
guilt
the
and
healing
guilt.
journey.
Yeah.
Those are,
Right.
yeah, that's the same frequency. Guilt and shame are the
Yes.
same. But it goes back to the healing journey. Once you start to release all the guilt and shame, there's no more shadows within you. You start to
Right.
eliminate the shadows within you, and then the guilt and shame are gone. So you could talk about,
Yes.
just like it's the same way I could talk about all my crap, is because
Right.
I have no shame attached to it anymore. It's neutralized. So I could
Right.
talk about it from that place because it's almost like it's not even me anymore. Because it's not.
Yes.
But if we could get honest about those things, this is all, like you said, it's all authenticity. It's being that
Yes.
real and that
Yes.
honest.
I remember last Monday because I have a live show. I talk about love. It's Love Speaks, and my topic was really that overcoming guilt. very, very powerful thing, but at the same time can cause limiting beliefs. And
Uh-huh.
I was able to share like actionable steps, and hopefully people realize the importance of just what you said, shame and guilt can limit you as a person.
Yeah.
Now, Tammy, your insights today have been so powerful. Believe me, I learned a lot. And before we wrap up, what is one piece of advice, you gave a lot of really good advice already. What is one piece of advice you would give to someone who feels lost in their own journey of healing, or maybe something that you want the viewers to remember you with,
Mm.
just like a closing um, message for them?
Well, the biggest one is there's nothing about your life you cannot change.
Yes, yes.
Full responsibility, taking full ownership of your life is the first step to that. But then also, I like to tell people I went on my journey for many, many years alone, and it's the reason why it took so long. So, if I could give you any advice, find someone who has achieved the results that you want, some sort of healer, and hire them to take you through the process because that would have saved me a lot of time.
Right.
And that's huge, right? And also, they're going to take you somewhere deeper than you'll ever take yourself. So don't do it alone. That's the big thing. That listening to podcasts is wonderful, wonderful. Take it a step further and
Yeah.
have someone walk you
Yes.
through the journey
Love
journey
that.
of inner healing. That's always my biggest advice because that is the first step to everything that you want is clearing out the closet, and you're going to need someone to guide you through that. So those are the two biggest things I like to point out towards the end, and just know that you when you take 100% ownership of your emotional state, you have the ability to feel whatever you want throughout the day, and whatever you feel is creating the results that you have. So choose your thoughts on purpose.
And not only that, invest in yourself. Invest in yourself, meaning if you have to go out of your way and find someone who can bring light to how you're feeling, or to bring answers or solutions to what you're going through, go do
Yes.
it. Sometimes you can't solve, things, your problems alone. You need a community, or you need somebody like, Tammy here, who can actually lead you through that path of finally healing inward, not just on a surface level, but healing in. Tammy, how can the audience, my viewers, find you? Do you have anything to share or promote? Because I know you said so many valuable lessons, and I know they want to reconnect at some point. How can they find you?
Yeah. So I can offer you my link tree that has all my links on it. Um, uh, I have a dominant presence, I'd say, on Instagram. That's where
Okay.
I'm mostly am. But one offer that I love to give on these podcasts is I have a podcast of my own. It's called Behind the
Yeah.
Veil Anonymous Transformations. And it's not your typical podcast interview style. It's actually women come on that are struggling. I've had a few men actually
Okay.
as well, but they're struggling with some sort of love relationship. And
Okay.
so they come on, and I take them through a process of inner child healing.
Okay.
And it's actually a very deep process. So I don't recommend it for anyone who has not started their inner journey yet.
Okay. All
But
right.
it's mostly for someone who they've been on their journey, they've done a lot of inner work, and they still have this stuck point.
Okay.
And it's usually around the love relationship. And so they come on, and we find the root cause
Right.
and heal that. So it's very, very powerful. And I love to offer that to anyone who's been on their journey. Please, if you can apply to be on there, I'd love to have you if you're a good fit. And if you want to, reach out to me because you want to see if maybe my program could work for you,
Yeah.
there's also on that link, you could book a free discovery call, 20-minute discovery call with me. And so, yes, those are my offerings. Also on that link, I have a marriage mini course.
Okay.
If you're really struggling in your marriage and you need a little lifeline, there's a mini course on there that you could watch as well.
So when I publish this podcast, it's going to be on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcast
Uh-huh.
soon. I share it on multiple social media, on multiple pages as well. So before I publish it, I'm gonna connect with you. Give me all the links to your
Okay.
program, to your podcast, so that they can. And I just don't do it once. I do it twice. The day after, I'm gonna get excerpts, like excerpts of this powerful podcast, and again share it. So multiple ways for them to connect with you.
Beautiful.
Okay, so I want to make sure that I have all the links ready for them to easily connect with you. All right. So,
Oh.
this has been such a beautiful conversation as we predicted.
As we predicted, we knew it.
So, if I, to sum up, to end, to anyone listening, if you feel lost, if you feel like your past has defined you, know this: you are not your past, you are not your trauma, you are so much more. Your
Mhm.
journey is yours to reclaim. Healing, as we heard from our friend Tammy, healing is possible, and you are worthy of that healing.
Mhm.
And I just want to say thank you again for being this podcast, Tammy. Anything that you want to say? It's been such a wonderful moment having you here in this podcast.
Oh, it's been so special for me. And I love that your heart is for the children because I work with the women and I love those who are working with the children. I'm so grateful because we all start that way.
Yes, think about,
And
they are going to be the future of our
and I
of the
mean, if you
world.
could, the earlier they could heal, the better they're going to be set up for life. I mean,
Wow, wow.
I just couldn't even imagine if I had someone like me or like
Yes,
you when I was a child, So it's so very powerful. And thank you so
my
much
pleasure.
for what you're giving this world because it is powerful.
I cannot leave the profession. That's why I
It's your
started.
heart. It is
No, you
so
can't.
it is your purpose, It's your purpose work. And
Yes.
I love that we have you. So
And we
thank
need
you.
also people like you who can work with children as young as
Yeah.
preschool. So you know what? We'll look for an opportunity. You know what I mean? Where
That'd
you
be
can, because
lovely.
like what you're sharing with the viewers, especially the ones that, your strategy for the kids will really mean a lot if they practice it on a daily basis. I
Mhm.
truly believe that. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Tammy.
Yes.
Again, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. To our
Hmm.
listeners, thank you for tuning in to Intentional Excellence. Connect with me. More information at CandiceRuggiero.com. My social media is linktree/Candice Ruggiero. I speak on convention, conferences, professional development, and workshop. I speak on authenticity, intentionality, leadership, empowerment, and fighting burnout. Again, just remember, your past may have shaped you, but you have the power to shape your future. Until next time, take care and keep striving for intentional excellence. Have a good evening, Tammy, or have a good day, whatever you are.
Yeah.
Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you from Candice, from my bottom of my heart. Thank you so much.